The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. People who sit behind these microphones and talk to these cameras, to you, that believe their opinions are news, they're just wrong. And that's bad because people keep thinking that network anchor or anchor people opinions are news. That's not the case. As a matter of fact, it's not even appropriate. But indeed, we do share our opinions here, and that means you and me, not just me. So join us, 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172, or you can join us on the chat room on the platform that you are currently watching. A big decision today, a perplexing one, and I think we should discover it together. This from Fox News. The Supreme Court today ruled in favor of the Biden administration in a challenge to its alleged coordination with social media companies, saying the states who sued the administration lacked standing. Perplexing, no? The case was Murphy v. Missouri. It stems from a lawsuit brought by state attorneys general from Missouri and Louisiana that accused high-ranking government officials of working with giant social media companies, quote, under the guise of combating misinformation, unquote, that ultimately led to censoring speech on topics that included Hunter Biden's laptop, the origins of COVID-19, and the efficacy of face masks. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote for the majority, saying the plaintiffs lacked standing to bring their challenge. So apparently it's a technical situation, not one on the merits. Quote, the plaintiffs, without any concrete link between their injuries and the defendant's conduct, ask us to conduct a review of the years-long communications between dozens of federal officials across different agencies with different social media platforms about different topics. This court's standing doctrine prevents us from exercising such general legal oversight of the other branches of government. We therefore reverse the judgment of the Fifth Circuit and remand the case for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. So there is light, perhaps, at the end of this rather interesting judicial tunnel. The vote was 6-3. Justice Samuel Alito dissented, joined by Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch. The plaintiffs claim standing based on the direct censorship of their own speech as well as their right to listen to others who faced social media censorship, said Justice Barrett. Notably, both theories depend on the platform's actions, yet the plaintiffs do not seek to enjoin the platforms from restricting any posts or accounts. They seek to enjoin government agencies and officials from pressuring or encouraging the platforms to suppress protected speech in the future, she wrote, adding the state's alleged injuries were part of a one-step removed anticipatory nature. Okay. All right. So that gives us a little bit of a clue. What she's saying is that this case is, as the Supreme Court often says, not mature. In other words, there's more thinking to be done, which is why it's been remanded back to the Fifth Circuit. Okay. So, in other words, there needs to be more discussion, recalibrating of cases, and then a presentation. So, the actual issue is not dead, and that's good. It is, however, delayed. This would have stopped government agencies from coercion of social media companies to remove political free speech, which is what happened last time. And this opens up a can of worms that indeed will allow political sources to enjoin or dissuade social media companies from publishing anything that is contrary to their political beliefs or ideologies. This is in my humble opinion, at least at first blush. This happened just a few minutes ago. That is disturbing to me. Is it disturbing to you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. In a July 4th court order last year, U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty imposed the temporary injunction preventing the White House and executive agency officials from meeting with tech companies about moderating content, arguing such actions were likely First Amendment violations. Quote, if the allegations made by plaintiffs are true, the present case arguably involves the most massive attack against free speech in the United States' history. In their attempts to suppress alleged disinformation, the federal government, and particularly the defendants named here, are alleged to have blatantly ignored the First Amendment's right to free speech. The injunction also claimed that censorship alleged in this case almost exclusively targeted conservative speech, but that issues in the case raised were beyond party lines. The Justice Department had argued the temporary ban would cause irreparable harm because it would prevent a federal government from working with social media companies on initiatives to prevent grave harm to the American people and our democratic processes. Barrett Wednesday today wrote that the Supreme Court standing doctrine prevents us from exercising such general legal oversight of other branches of government. That is true, by the way. Remember that the Supreme Court takes everything on a case-by-case basis. And so they cannot infer a general oversight on cases that may appear in the future, right? Does that make any sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, they pick a case and decide a case, and that's what they've done here. So in other words, that's the maturation process. In other words, there needs to be a better structure of, say, for example, the plaintiff's case, in this case, the two states, Missouri and Louisiana. They have to come up with a better argument. Well, the problem with that is that I don't understand how difficult it is to see that when government agencies purposefully and indeed knowing that they are wrong, because they did, seek to quash, dispense with free speech that disagrees with the narrative, not the truth, the narrative, specifically the Hunter Biden laptop. These guys knew that laptop was real. And yet what they ended up doing was pushing this into the realm of uncertainty. And then wink, wink, nudge, nudge, talking to people that run social media companies, say this might be disinformation. You could be wrong. Not that it would take much coercion, because those people support big government censorship. They practice it themselves. Thankfully, there's Elon Musk, who bought Twitter, turned it into X, and you can still have free speech there. But this is bad. This is bad. Let's see. Justice Alito. This is a dissenting opinion. If the lower court's assessment of the voluminous record is correct, this is one of the most important free speech cases to reach the court in years. Quote, for months, high-ranking government officials placed unrelenting pressure on Facebook to suppress Americans' free speech. Because the court unjustifiably refuses to address this serious threat to the First Amendment, I respectfully dissent. Barrett explained that the plaintiffs rely on allegations of past government censorship as evidence that future censorship is likely. Okay, once again, we're getting to parsing out the legality, and that is this overarching legal opinion that does presuppose future cases and would indeed stop all of them. Well, okay. Remember when I talk about idiot legalist savants? People that would not know what to do unless it was written down in some law book somewhere? Is that where Justice Amy Coney Barrett wants to take her public perception and indeed her jurisprudence? Is that where she wants to go? This is a decision made in a vacuum here. And I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised. She goes on to say, but they fail by and large to link their past social media restrictions to the defendant's communications with the platforms. Thus, the events of the past do little to help any of the plaintiffs establish standing to seek an injunction to prevent future harms. Okay. All right. So they don't have standing to prevent future harms because there are no clear-cut injuries. Are there ever clear-cut injuries to people who have been censored? That's the question. And the answer is, of course, yes. Yes. And it's not just the person complaining. It's everybody else impacted by a decision to say, hey, well, you couldn't really tell us what your damages were or what your injuries were, so, we are not going to roll. Well, the Fifth Circuit ruled. They're all reading the same papers. They're all reading the same government documents. How could 6 justices of the Supreme Court absolutely refute the idea that indeed there were injuries in this free speech case? Not just to the plaintiffs, but everyone. How could they make that decision? 6 of them did. Of course, Chief Justice John Roberts is in that majority. Just exactly who is that guy? Does anybody know? You see, to me, it seems to me that for a Supreme Court to be, I don't want to use this word, credible. I was going to say legitimate, but I don't want to use that word. For the Supreme Court to be credible, they should be consistent. And they should zealously protect the Bill of Rights, including the First Amendment. And they're not here. I don't understand. Let's see. Alito, however, counted as follows. These past and present future injuries were caused and traceable to censorship that the officials coerced, and the injunctive relief she sought was an available and suitable remedy, said Alito, adding that evidence was more than sufficient to establish the plaintiff's standing to sue. And consequently, we are obligated to tackle the free speech issue that this case presents. That's what I just said. The court is impaneled to zealously protect the First Amendment and all the other rights in these United States, as the Constitution demands. Alito continued, consequently, we're obligated to tackle the free speech issue that the case presents. The court, however, shirks that duty and thus permits the successful campaign of coercion in this case to stand as an attractive model for future officials who want to control what people say, hear, and think. That is regrettable, he said. I disagree with Alito on this. It's not regrettable, it's disastrous. What the officials did in this case was more subtle than the ham-handed censorship found to be unconstitutional in Vulo, but no less coercive, said Alito, citing a recent First Amendment case decided earlier this term. And because the perpetrator's high positions, it's even more dangerous. It was blatantly unconstitutional. The country may come to regret the court's failure to say so. Officials who read today's decision together with Vulo will get the message. If a coercive campaign is carried out with enough sophistication, it may get by. This is not a message the court should send. But they said it. This is kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. I wish they hadn't made that decision. It is regrettable. And we will pay a price for it. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Coming up, it's not the criminal that's the problem. It's the law that's the problem. Oh, really? Here's another example of that coming up on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low Cost Airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Glad you're here. This is Wednesday, midweek already. Yeah. And thanks to a brilliant commercial, what's entered the American lexicon is home day. Yeah. I can't do it. So, for 71 years, the Biden family has lived in Delaware. 71 years. Maybe 61. Hold on a second. Let me double check this. I know. For the people watching this broadcast, they're now holding their head and they're saying, my God, he's trying to do arithmetic again. Yeah, that's true. Let me see if I got it right this time. Let's see here. I did 71 years. I actually did it in my head and got it right. But I had to check it. The Biden family has lived in Delaware since 1953, 71 years. And For some reason, Hunter Biden, high on drugs, according to his own book, bought a pistol in Delaware. And he was tried for it. And he was convicted. And there's a problem. USA Today is now reporting that the problem is the fact that the gun store that sold him that weapon, well, they broke the law too. Yeah. Check this out. If a Delaware gun store had done its job, Hunter Biden would have never bought the gun that resulted in his felony conviction this month. By law, handguns can only be sold by shops only to state residents who must provide a government-issued proof of residency, and Biden was not a legal resident of Delaware in 2018. Instead, he only offered a passport with his name and his birth date. My God. StarQuest Shooters and Survival Supply not only sold him the .38 revolver, but it later tried to cover its tracks by quietly adding a note to the form years later. The shop's owner, Ron Palmieri, admitted to federal agents the store annotated the form around 2021 with a handwritten line, DE, Delaware, vehicle registration. The issue almost became a point of contention in the trial when Biden's defense team tried to raise it, but Judge Mary Ellen Noreika ruled the shop wasn't on trial and the gun sales form would confuse jurors. But gun control activists said the ruling showed a double standard in favor of convicting Biden while ignoring the violation of the gun store. We don't give drug dealers a pass to get the possessor, said David Chipman, a senior policy advisor at Giffords, whose nomination by President Joe Biden to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives ended when it failed to gain enough Senate support in 2021. So USA Today is going to a guy that didn't make the job for an opinion. Anyway, it's Criminal Investigation 101. How the government has bent over backwards to explain away the most serious felony is shocking. National security expert Marcy Wheeler scrutinized the two versions of the 4473 firearm sales form on her website and came to the same conclusion despite the Justice Department's prosecutor boasts of no one is above the law. The gun shop apparently is. The shop's employees gave irreconcilable testimony on the stand, said Wheeler. If you're going to prosecute Hunter Biden for lying on a form, how do you avoid prosecuting a gun shop that doctors a form after the fact? Okay, and on and on and on. So it's the gun store's fault. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? The Biden family just put upon. The Biden family just being victimized by an evil system that wanted to get him convicted no matter what the cost. Sure. Whatever you say. Yeah. And the gun store sold a weapon. Family had been in the Delaware area, in the state of Delaware, for 71 years. But somehow Hunter Biden was not a legal resident. Well, thank God for USA Today and all these people that only read things one way. This is the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. We're doing the show on Wednesday. It's the 26th day of June, year of our Lord, 2024. I've been really busy on X. You should go to X. Go to @TheWellsReport and see some of the things that I've been writing, and get on some of the threads. And and I got to tell you, it's been a fascinating situation. I've been getting around. I have to say some things about this. The people that watch this broadcast on a regular basis have a pretty good idea that this is nonpartisan. For different reasons, I hate both of the major political parties for different reasons. And mostly it rests on my discouragement and anger over the intransigence of the Republican Party to offer adversarial commentary and indeed actions from to the Democrat Party. In order for a two-party system to work, the parties have to be adversarial. They have to argue. They have to stand in each other's way. The Democrats have no problem doing this. They're great at it. The Republican Party trying to be reasonable and bipartisan, which of course works to the benefit of the Democrat Party, refuses to match the leftist tinge, the socialist tinge of the Democrat Party, therefore enabling it. It's like, and I've been chatting with some people here, and I just finished this, and I keep hearing words like Trump cult and that I'm a Trump supporter. Indeed, I have voted for President Trump twice. And unless I get a better candidate, and yeah, he's flawed, he makes mistakes, a lot of which I've criticized on this broadcast. Actually, all of them I've criticized on this broadcast, come to think of it. But which of these two presidential candidates believe that the U.S. government should serve the American people rather than exploit them? That's a serious question. Please answer 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Should the government of the United States serve the people? We, the people, in fact. Or should it serve itself? 817-379-2172. Congressional and state primary results happening yesterday in New York, Colorado, and Utah, according to USA Today, in an article that I'm giving you, showcase the influence of the political fringes in 2024. This is, of course, a story about progressive Democrats suffering a major blow. Second-term Republican Representative. Let me try that again. Progressive Democrats suffered a major blow when second-term Representative Jamal Bowman lost his New York primary, while one of the most conservative factions in Congress notched a victory as Representative Lauren Boebert won in Colorado. In Utah, voters appeared to soundly reject candidates favored by the party establishment. They're talking about either party. Here's some initial takeaways, according to USA Today, of results from the primaries yesterday that could reverberate through the rest of the 2024 election cycle. First subheadline, an uncertain future for the squad. Bowman's defeat in the Democrat primary for New York's 16th, covering parts of Bronx, Yonkers, and Westchester, marks the first ouster in 2024 of a member of the progressive group of House lawmakers called the Squad. First elected in 2020, Bowman yesterday lost to Westchester County Executive George Latimer, a more moderate candidate. Latimer received endorsements from establishment Democrat figures, including former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The Israeli-Hamas war featured as a prominent topic in the race, given Bowman's criticism of Israel's approach to the war and calls for a ceasefire. The American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, a pro-Israel lobbying group, spent millions of dollars in the race against Bowman. Some political spectators, like former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, have suggested that Bowman's loss is a referendum on his rhetoric around the war in Gaza. Others, including Latimer, have suggested the trouncing was more of a result of Bowman's becoming out of step with his district, which is always the case. That's an easy statement to make. When a congressman is ousted in a primary, it's because the district has changed its mind. Other pro-ceasefire members of the Squad, such as Representative Summer Lee, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, have headed off primary challenges this year from candidates who have attacked their stance on the Israeli-Hamas war. This is a political loser in the United States, thankfully. The role of Bowman's stance on Israel and IPAC's funding in the race may be unclear until other contentious elections later this summer. Fellow Squad member Cori Bush, the Democrat from Missouri, faces a tough primary challenge from St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell in August. IPAC has already donated more than $630,000 to Bell's campaign ahead of the August 6th election in Missouri. You know, I gotta tell you, political funding of congressional races outside of congressional districts is destructive. It's destructive to the American government, the American way of life. You know, I realize that the First Amendment protects, since the Supreme Court ruled that political contribution was free speech. It protects. I mean, it's a circumstance where people from outside the district can throw huge amounts of money into a district to try to sway the race. Soros does it. IPAC does it. Various different super PACs do it, and it's all wrong. It's all wrong. The money for congressional candidates should be raised from within the district, in my view, instead of being raised by people outside with other influences on the district, not those of the voters in the district, is a mess. It's a mess. You know, I have to be perfectly honest with you. Beth Van Dyne is my congressperson. Okay? And she has run races where leftist contributors have spent millions of dollars on this district, on her district, the 24th, to the Texas 24th, by the way, not to be confusing. But the thing about it is she's withstood all of those challenges, and for good reason, because the people of Texas pretty much know who they're going to vote for before all this advertising and before all this influence is wielded by outside sources. And the Democrats that are saying, my God, IPAC put in millions of dollars to get rid of Jamal Bowman. They purchased a congressional seat. Well, yeah, that has some validity, actually. It does. Just like everybody else who contributes to Democrat lawmakers who have used that money to also coerce voters in their districts that they're the better candidate. This outside money to decry outside money coming into a district to remove a Democrat as opposed to a Republican belies the hypocrisy of American politics, not just the left, the right as well. But once again, the government is operating, and these special interest groups are operating to their interests as opposed to electing people who will operate in a congressional district's interest. It's bad. What do we do to fix it? Well, if I could, what I would do is I would say, boy, from now on, only monies raised within the district from businesses, individuals in the district can be used for congressional campaigns. That's what I would do. But then again, I also have some other ideas. I disagree with the Supreme Court ruling that said that somehow corporations were actually people. You see, I believe that contributions to a political campaign should be limited to a degree and should also be confined to registered voters in the United States. I don't think that's a bad idea. And in the case of all this, it comes right back down to, why is there outside money in these district races? So there you go. So Jamal Bowman, gone. And yeah, it's because he was out of step with his own district. Let's just make it plain. You know, when you come out on the side of Hamas and terrorism and against Israel and Jews in New York, you're probably going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. As far as Lauren Boebert, her decision to try and switch districts, which is not something she tried, it's what she actually did, appears to have paid off. The Freedom Caucus Republican defeated 5 competitors in the GOP primary for Colorado's 4th. Boebert first announced her plan to make a play for the seat rather than for her current 3rd district position after Republican Ken Buck announced he would not seek another term representing the eastern Colorado area. The 37-year-old Boebert would have met a difficult general election battle in the 3rd district if she had decided to remain there. Her 2022 Democrat challenger Adam Frisch, who she only narrowly beat in that year's midterms, is running again in 2024. Boebert's victory in the 4th district against more traditional GOP figures, including former Colorado State Senator Jerry Sonnenberg and current Representatives Mike Lynch and Richard Haltorf, highlights the salience of Boebert's name recognition and hardline MAGA stances with conservative voters. All right, by the way, there was also a decision that said that you don't actually have to live in the district you run in. That would also be something that I would change. Yeah, and I'm not talking about some apartment that is paid for by campaign dollars to establish residency in the district. No, I think you should actually have to live there. But then again, I've also decried the idea that we keep electing professional politicians instead of our neighbors. Now, obviously, if you elect one of your neighbors to be a U.S. congressperson, there can only be one reason for that, and that's because you absolutely hate your neighbor. Because, as I brought up Beth Van Dyne, she said to me that this is an S show, and she was referring to Congress, and it is. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And that's too bad, huh? Well, so let's talk a little bit about Utah. The Utah-backed GOP, their Senate and gubernatorial candidates running on pro-Trump messages in the state's primaries, had some trouble. In the governor's race, they supported Representative Phil Lyman over incumbent Spencer Cox. And for Senator Mitt Romney's successor, they favored Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs. Republican voters largely rejected those choices. Cox, who said in February it would be a huge mistake to choose Trump as the GOP presidential nominee, beat Lyman by double digits. Representative John Curtis, who was similarly the only candidate to race for Romney's open Senate seat, who did not explicitly endorse Trump, bested his 3 competitors and won more than 50% of the vote. Now, to talk a little bit about trying to put some of these concepts that I've spoken about together. Once again, what we have is this idea that moderate politicians are better than those on the fringe. Okay, those on the fringe are harder to deal with. It was awful to watch Jamal Bowman say the things he said in the South Bronx on what is arguably going to be his last political rally. The comedy of AOC jumping around on the stage, leading the cheers for Jamal Bowman in front of 300 people. That was kind of embarrassing. And indeed, Bowman received bipartisan condemnation for his profanity-laced bellicose flexing in front of those 300 people and also the news media. And it cost him his seat. Progressivism is also at the tail end of running its course, in my view. Progressivism is anti-American, unconstitutional, socialist, a government that serves itself. It's not what America is, or not what America ever will be. But when you put enough liberals together and get them into a frothy frenzy and get them to all go vote, well, okay, then yeah, you can win the seat. Maybe you can win it twice. But can you win it 3 times? Jamal Bowman found that he couldn't. And this is not just a cautionary tale for the progressive wing of the Democrat Party, which is a euphemism for socialism. It's also a cautionary tale for right-wing Republicans as well. But when you start talking about the mushy middle, when you start talking about bipartisanship, are you talking about creating a political class without accountability?
Vallarta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877 512 3895. That's 877 512 3895. 877 512 3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is fun. That's fascinating. Amazing what happens when you apply logic to bellicose spewage, which, by the way, rhymes with sewage. But let's just talk a little bit more about my current forays into X. Yeah, there are people that say that there's one person here that said, let me post this, that was talking about how let's see, he said, yes, it is, and it will be even better when Trump and his Nazi-loving cult are held accountable for their attempted overthrow of our democracy. So I came back with, so now 74 million of your neighbors are Nazi supporters? He said, you said it, I didn't. No, you said it, and you're backing away from it. It's like, really? See this rhetoric that we're talking about, this political fringe stuff? It has, honest to goodness, meaning. And I attack it. I attack both sides for it. And I always have. The mushy middle, the mushy moderate class. Well, that ends up serving only the political process. It is uncomfortable to listen to these left-wing and right-wing kooks throwing bombs at each other. And yes, there needs to be some moderation in that political rhetoric. But it doesn't have to be moderate political rhetoric. It has to be reasoned. It has to be objective, truthful. It has to be honest. cynicism, hypocrisy, all those other things simply have no place. I mean, they do because we keep allowing it. We keep voting for the wrong people. A lot of times we'll take that bellicose and stupid rhetoric and we'll say, yeah, and we'll vote for those people. And so somebody who's less controversial seems to be an easier choice. But it is an easier choice, not necessarily a correct one. Lauren Boebert won in Colorado in the 4th district. She probably wouldn't have won in the 3rd district, so she moved. Does Lauren Boebert represent a part of a debate that needs to happen in the U.S. Congress? The people of Colorado said yes. The people of New York said no when the photographic negative was applied to their race in Jamal Bowman's district. And that is the way it is, and that is a good thing. That's where the people choosing their representatives, the genius of the Republican, not the Republican Party, but the Republican form of government, where the people elect their representatives, that's the strength of this system. There are weaknesses in it, but it's the best system out there so far. I mean, the greatest days of the Roman Empire were those of a republic. And when we abandoned that for, not we, but when they abandoned that for following a Caesar, then that was the end. It was the beginning of the end. And we are all chasing that particular pathway here in the United States. We have a president of the United States in his lucid moments, in bellicose fashion, criticizing half of the American electorate. We have on the other side of that, we have somebody in his bellicose rhetoric talking about how he is the answer, as opposed to we are the answer. And I point that out here. You know, people who say that Donald Trump is focused on himself have a good argument. Why do they have a good argument? Well, because President Trump keeps giving them the argument. He keeps handing them the clubs they beat him with. The people who support Trump look beyond all that. And they say, well, that's not what he means, is it? People look beyond the infirmity of the current president and the fact that he is most assuredly not making the decisions in his own administration. Those are being made elsewhere by unelected people. Many of those people we know, but a lot of them we don't. But one thing we do know about them, they were not elected by we the people. Joe Biden was. And that is also something that is incredibly damaging and distressing. And we will find ourselves in a position where we rue the day that we went this way and we started electing personalities instead of servants. These people serve us, not the other way around. I want an American president, one who believes that the government should serve the people of the United States, rather than a president who believes that the American people are exploited for political ideology and nothing more. And that's what we have. And we have to stop choosing it. We do. We face the demise of this republic in the classic fashions of the demise of republics from history. I believe that we will turn away from all of this, but I also believe that we have to get control of this political process. We, the people of the United States, Democrat, Republican, everyone, need to demand that this country, this government, serve us instead of us serving them. Don't you think? That's hour number one of the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of it. We are going to continue this broadcast. In fact, coming up, conservative groups ripping President Biden in television commercials. I'll show it to you next.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happens. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good afternoon. Afternoon now. I'm sorry. Good afternoon. It's 13 seconds past noon, so it is afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine. Let's compare them. Let's debate. Agreement is not required on this broadcast. Polite conversation is. Respectful conversation is. I'll respect you. Please respect me. And let's not have an argument because, as we've seen with previous political debates, arguments are boring. Let's get to the truth of it. Let's get to the reality of it. Truth spoken here. I will, you will, and there is the broadcast. So it's getting close. We are somewhere around 133 days away from the election. And yeah, once again, infuriatingly, we have again the most important presidential election in the history of the Republic. This overheated rhetoric has led to an unbelievable anxiety level that affected me in 2016. When Florida came out as supporting President Trump, I stood back and I took deep breaths. Not because I was a Republican, not because I was a Trump Kool-Aid drinking advocate or acolyte, but because I believed that a consolidation of the Obama presidency with its European socialist leanings was going to destroy the country. And we can see that there are certainly aspects of life in the United States with a 4-year pause and then a renewal of that indeed European socialist philosophy. You can see how it has changed our country. Many of us believe that America is better than the Democratic Socialist Republic of America. And so we work to bring America back. Well, he's a Trump supporter. No, I'm an American supporter. I support America. But as we come to this particular moment, hour 2 of the Wells Report for Wednesday, the 26th day of June, there are some heavy-handed things being thrown back and forth. And one of them, this particular circumstance, involves those kinds of heavy throws against the President of the United States. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think about it here on the Wells Report. Please do check this out. Oops. Yeah, let me try this one more time. That's going to be a commercial, and maybe not. Here we
Reagan
go.
Riley should have been able to go on a run in broad daylight without being murdered by an illegal immigrant. But Joe Biden promised not to deport illegal immigrants.
Should that person be deported? That person should not be the focus of deportation.
Biden vowed not to detain illegal immigrants who crossed the border.
No one would be put in jail while waiting for their hearing.
So when Jose Ibarra crossed into America illegally, he was not deported. He was not put in jail. Biden also supported sanctuary cities.
Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to immigration officials?
No.
So when Jose Ibarra was arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he was freed a second time. Ibarra went to Georgia, where he beat Laken Riley to death. How many more killers has Biden set free? Building America's Future is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Heavy-handed? Yeah. Truthful? Well, that's up to you. What I see, what I believe is that's really, really difficult for the Biden administration to hide from, because it's true, especially in consideration of the illegal migrants who have slaughtered American women since then. So when you talk about this, we're going to see more of it. And we're going to have to make a decision based on it. The wide open southern border is a national security disaster. Over 200,000 Americans, minus the Americans killed by drunk drivers who are illegal aliens, who are rank gang rapists and murderers who are illegal aliens. All of those people, minus those, 200,000 plus, that number is a year old, 200,000 plus Americans have died of fentanyl that came across the southern border of the United States. Tons of it, enough to kill every man, woman, and child in this nation. And for what? To re-demography the United States? Not so that these immigrants can do work Americans won't do, but to cast votes Americans won't cast? Is that why we've done it? That's an issue. It's a huge one. And one that is a gut check for all Americans, not just right-wing Americans, all Americans. And things are changing, finally. But look at all the people who have lost their lives in fomenting that change. Too many. Too many. Here's the story of that commercial. By the way, I want to make something abundantly clear. That commercial was produced on March 7th of this year. So not only was it true when it came to Laken Riley, but it was prescient. In other words, it predicted the future. Here's a story on it from Fox News. Biased, Fox News. A conservative nonprofit is releasing a six-figure campaign in key swing states on the eve of the first presidential debate tomorrow, hammering President Biden on his open border they say has become a nightmare for American women. The conservative nonprofit Building America's Future announced today it was running a 60-second digital ad bracketing the CNN presidential debate that focused on the death of Rachel Morin, who was allegedly murdered by an illegal immigrant. The digital ad, called Again, which will run in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, will highlight how an illegal immigrant wanted for murder in his own country was let loose into the U.S. by President Biden and went on to kill Maryland mom Rachel Morin. Quote, "It just keeps happening," the ad says, behind the backdrop of a woman walking along a trail, alluding to how Rachel Morin, 37, was raped and beaten before she was strangled on a Maryland hiking trail in August of 2023. This, according to police. She left 5 children behind her. They now have no mother. Laken Riley wasn't the first in Joe Biden's America, and sadly, she won't be the last. The ad continues. Illegal immigrant Victor Hernandez. He was wanted for murder, but Biden let him in. The ad also mentioned the recent murder of Jocelyn Nungary, a 12-year-old Houston girl who was allegedly raped and murdered last week by 2 illegal immigrants. Joe Biden's open border, a nightmare for American women. The ad will run Wednesday, June 26th through Friday, June 28th, so it starts today. It cost over $200,000. The media buy also included mobile billboards, 2D projections on famous buildings displaying portions of the ad in major metropolitan areas of Atlanta, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, said the group in a press release. Building America's Future previously bracketed Biden's State of the Union address with a scathing ad focused on the death of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, which I just played for you, allegedly at the hands of an illegal immigrant. CNN declined to air that during the speech. Well, was that censorship? No, No, but maybe it should have been. So I went trying to find that latest advertisement, and it is not readily available. But the one from March 7th was, so I played it. It's basically the same message. How will the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, answer those charges? I don't believe there is an answer. I don't believe there's an answer. The open border has caused death, mayhem, rape, and murder in the United States of America at the hands of people who should not be here in the first place. Indeed, people who have been invited here by this government. The Democrats are responsible for reversing border policies, but it's not just a Democrat problem. There does need to be comprehensive immigration reform in these United States. It doesn't have to be reform. There are laws on the books that established controlled immigration into the United States. The days of Ellis Island routinely pointed out that this is a nation of immigrants by the left, but they were a nation of legal immigrants, not illegal ones. And there was a process to determine and actually vet the people coming to the United States so that we didn't import a criminal class from nations that are basically in chaos. All we need to do is rekindle all of those values, all of those laws. And to do that, we have to close the southern border, leaving open only the international ports of entry. And we have to do it now. And the president could do it now. And he should. The whole border. The entire border. The absolute cynical garbage issued by Senator Elizabeth Warren saying, well, the Republicans wouldn't give us funding to process these people, so we just let them out, is intellectually absurd. It's intellectually absurd. So we couldn't process them. We couldn't give them any kind of legal scrutiny. So we just let them go. Are you flipping kidding me? So we just let them go. Yeah, that's what you did. How many Americans are dead because of it? How many people let loose in the United States carried, 20, 30 pounds of fentanyl into the country as the price for them crossing into our nation illegally? Too many. Close the border. I know what I'm talking about. I've been there twice. I've served the state of Texas for 9 months on that border in uniform. I know what I'm talking about. I've seen it for myself. What are we doing? Then when you add the idea that there are some 400,000 military-age Chinese nationals also living here illegally, just exactly how much of the Chinese army do we want to import into the nation across the southern border illegally? This is a mess. And if we're not careful, it's going to get us. And who's going to fight the fight? Who's going to pay the price? The government of the United States? No. As we've seen, whenever anything happens that threatens the government of the United States, they surround themselves in razor wire and National Guard troops. Who's going to be fighting that fight? Well, it's going to be us, we the people. Which gives lie to those people who are trying to disarm us. Disarm us for what reason? For what reason? It can't be because we're killing each other with these weapons, because we've got over 200,000 fentanyl deaths. More people are killed by fentanyl than weapons every single year by a huge margin. But we don't do anything about that, do we? This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. President Biden has issued a proclamation pardoning thousands of U.S. veterans who were convicted under a military law that banned gay sex. It makes them eligible to apply for previously withheld benefits. In a statement early this morning announcing clemency actions, President Biden said he was, quote, righting an historic wrong, unquote, to pardon former service members who were convicted simply for being themselves, unquote. Quick little aside here. The objective of being in the military is not to be yourself. It's to be the part of a human machine, the best in the history of the human endeavor. It's not about you or who you snuggle up with at night. It's about the team. Just a little aside there. The ban held for more than 6 decades until Congress in 2013 amended the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 125, which had criminalized consensual sodomy after the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Despite their courage and great sacrifice, the thousands of LGBTQI+, I guess they took A away, plus service members were forced out of the military because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Some of these patriotic Americans were subject to court-martial and have carried the burden of this great injustice for decades. By the way, I brought up on this broadcast many, many times that General Friedrich von Steuben was instrumental in creating the Continental Army and the U.S. Army that followed it, and made it possible for us not to be speaking with a British accent to this very day. And the reason that this military genius, and he was, kicked out of the Prussian army, well, he was gay. So if you are against gays in the military, I think you probably ought to recalibrate. But that was the law of the land, and the President of the United States has issued a proclamation that basically repeals all of what he calls injustice. Now, to me, I can't avoid, based on the experience of the past and the current cynicism available in American politics, I cannot say that there isn't some cynicism here. Is this indeed more vote buying? You need to remember that the total amount of student loan forgiveness by the federal government now stands at $167 billion, spread around 4.75 million Americans. That's $35,157.89 for each American affected. Is that vote buying? Are we buying votes? Is that what we're doing? Is that what the president is up to? Well, that's a question that you can answer because you're a part of the American public, and only the American public actually know who the president should be, so says a guy named Thomas Jefferson. It's not going without notice that there is difficulty in the Democrat Party, especially where Joe Biden's candidacy for re-election is indeed concerned. President Biden, ex-President Barack Obama have met privately on several occasions to discuss how close confidence can save their legacy from the destruction that former President Trump promises if he's elected in 2024. A Monday story from New Yorker magazine titled "What Obama is Whispering to Biden" provides detailed information about the secret meals they shared by the two presidents, how they can salvage the 2024 election amid concerning indicators. They're at least concerning indicators. This, by the way, from Fox News. Can one of Obama's friends or many of Obama's friends save the election? Well, one of his friends told the outlet that while his anxiety about the election is real, the former president's concern fall in line with the opinions of other top Democrats. Is that going to work? I don't know. I think you got a broken down horse in a terribly important horse race. And I think you're going to have to do something about it. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Just saying. This is the Wells Report, back with more in just a couple of minutes. And as a matter of fact, there are astronauts that have a serious problem. They're stuck. More of that coming up in just a couple of moments on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. A tale of two news articles. This one from Fox News. Actually, both of them are from Fox, but not necessarily Fox News. This is a Fox Business article. Over a dozen plane passengers were injured after their flight dropped 25,000 feet and flew in circles several times, according to flight tracker data. The flight, Korean Air 189, departed from Seoul, South Korea, 4 p.m. local time, Saturday. The plane was expected in Taichung, Taiwan. About 3 hours later, the flight quickly diverted back to Seoul after it reached the southern tip of the Korean peninsula. According to FlightAware, the aircraft reported that they were diverting back to Seoul Airport because of a problem with the plane's pressurization system. During the diversion, the aircraft made a steep 25,000-foot descent, about 4.75 miles, over the course of about 8 minutes, injuring roughly 17 of the flight's 125 passengers. You know, where you're getting ready to go on an air flight and everything's fine, and the flight attendants stand in front of you and tell you about the emergency exits. And then they tell you about the oxygen masks that in the event of a sudden depressurization, oxygen masks will fall from the above, and you're supposed to put them on before you help anybody else with theirs, which is like a superfluous statement, like you're not going to put your oxygen mask on before you move to anybody else. But let's move on. That's what happened here. This was a sudden depressurization of the aircraft, and they were flying at about 35,000 feet. And in 35,000 foot atmospheres, there's not a lot to breathe from a standpoint of oxygen. And so the pilots immediately get down to about 10,000 feet where you have enough air to breathe. And yeah, that's a rough trip, a really rough trip. And the circle thing, well, that's a lot of how they get down there. They don't just go straight down because the airspeed would be too much. They bank and they do a corkscrew maneuver down to about 10,000 feet. South Korea's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport told Yonhap News Agency that 15 passengers hyperventilated and suffered severe eardrum pain. Yeah, because your eardrums at least pop when the depressurization occurs. They can rupture at the same time. Korean Air confirmed the incidents to Fox Business. The statement, the airline said it's fully cooperating with all relevant authorities to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident. The airline confirmed 17 flight passengers underwent medical treatment when the plane landed, according to Korean Air. All passengers have been discharged with no severe injuries. A spokesperson added the affected passengers have been given accommodation, meals, and other arrangements by the airline because, man, are they sucking up. Our commitment to the safety and well-being of our passenger and crew remains unchanged, said the Korean spokesperson. We apologize to all affected by this incident. That's story number one. Then there's story number two. 2 NASA astronauts are stuck on the International Space Station. There is an approximate return by date of July 20th. That's 45 days from its June 5th liftoff, which is how long Starliner can spend docked to the International Space Station. That is because of International Space Station flight rules. It's not because there's something else wrong with Starliner. It's just because those are the rules. You can stay longer, but they usually don't. So they go on to say that astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore's original stay was scheduled for a week, but a series of issues, including recent helium leaks and thruster problems, pushed the homecoming back multiple times. This is a quote, operating in space, building the spacecraft, especially human-related spacecraft for commercial companies, is a new endeavor that's still incredibly technical, said Makina Young, a fellow with the Aerospace Security Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, speaking to Fox News. It's really hard operating in an environment when things go wrong. It's not like you can take it to a mechanic when you're in space. True. NASA and someone else didn't immediately respond to Fox News Digital's questions. Boeing told Newsweek late Tuesday afternoon that a majority of the helium leaks and thruster problems have been stabilized, not a concern for Starliner's safe return. Well, why don't they return? So what links these two stories? Well, I just dropped you a clue. Both of these incredible, both aircraft and spacecraft, are built by Boeing. Boeing doesn't want to kill another 2 astronauts. They have problems with the aircraft aforementioned in the Korean Air mess, and that was a 737-800 MAX. That aircraft has had some serious problems, killing lots of people. Now, fortunately, this didn't end up in a crash. And yes, pilots routinely in simulators go through the process of what to do in a sudden cabin depressurization. And yes, when it comes to Boeing Starliner, these are indeed new spacecraft. And yeah, they're going to have problems. Now, the question is, can you get the astronauts back safely? The other question is, can you fly on a Boeing jet safely? Boeing has a real problem. I'm sure that much of what Boeing is dealing with when it comes to Starliner is not wanting to kill a couple of astronauts because the spacecraft, for whatever reason, is unmanageable based on thruster problems. Helium is used to pressurize the fuel systems of the thrusters because it's an inert gas. The thrusters are powered by unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide that when they come together, they explode. And they're very carefully calibrated so that that explosion isn't an explosion, but yet is a way to provide thrust to stop the spacecraft from rolling, tumbling, yawing, all of the axes of movement. And so they're very concerned about whether or not these astronauts are going to be able to make it back through the atmosphere without suffering a Columbia-like disaster. Boeing has problems. There's another article today that talks about how the CEO of Boeing is, for all intents and purposes, an accountant. And that didn't used to be the case. In many of America's aerospace corporations, those doing business in the commercial sector and the defense sector, are run by typically engineers who have been there and done that. And the idea of building a product based on their own experience has been the rule. However, that is not necessarily the case. Now what we have is we have business guys handling this stuff. And the ideas that business represents to a corporation, which are many but include cost cutting, may be in play here. Or there may be a failure to truly understand the realities of aircraft engineering by the CEO responsible for making policy. So Boeing is also in a position where they really don't have a lot of explanation for this, because the next aircraft that was supposed to take place of the 737 was the 757, which, according to the pilots and everybody I've ever talked to about, was a magnificent airplane that did just about everything perfectly. But then somebody had a great idea, maybe an accountant instead of an engineer, that said, well, let's just update the 737. Let's give it bigger engines. Let's increase its fuel capacity. Let's essentially build a cheaper 757 using the 737 airframe. The problem is that the 737 airframe is too low to the ground for many of those modifications. The engines were bigger, thus heavier. They were moved forward to clear the ground. And that created instability in the airframe itself. No problem. We have a special answer to a maiden's prayer automated flight system. Yeah, by golly, it works. Most of the time. Now, Airbus had a similar system that also caused a serious number of crashes because the airplane would argue with the flight crew about who was actually flying the jet. And in the early days of the 319 and 320 Airbus airliners, well, the aircraft won the argument and then flew into the ground. So there are issues. There are issues. That's the difference between brilliant computer programming and well-trained pilots. But which is less expensive? That's right. Brilliant computer programming is cheaper. Because what you can do is you can put together this computer-based brilliant piece of air control gear, and you can put it on every airplane as opposed to having brilliantly trained pilots on every airplane. Besides, those pilots make so much money. My God, a guy flies for 20 years, all that experience. That's expensive. By the way, there's also something else. I don't want to hit this one too hard, but the air crews here in the United States are better trained than air crews around the world. And we want to make sure that these other countries with less well-trained crews have a backup. Yeah, which is a way to say we don't want to have more expensive pilots all around the world, do we? The difference between business and engineering. And that's what's happening here. That's not the case for Starliner. Starliner is a spacecraft. And Starliner underwent amazing, exhaustive flight tests before it even had astronauts aboard. And I'm pretty much guessing that none of these problems with the helium feed system for the thrusters ever really popped up. And it's one of those things that happens. If you remember Apollo 13, there were these fuel cell tanks, specifically the oxygen tanks, and a fuel cell reacts hydrogen and oxygen, creating electricity and water. And one of the oxygen tanks in Apollo 13 had been dropped. I don't know, somewhere around 6 inches, 6.5 inches, onto a countertop, and that shattered some of the Teflon coating that was used to insulate the wires inside that operated fans that would stir up these ultra cold oxygen and hydrogen. It would stir it up because a slurry develops. Basically, it's like a slushy. And so what you do is you mix it all up. Have you ever had a slushy, and it starts to melt and all that kind of stuff, and you got this blob of essentially slush, and then you sort of swirl it around and it makes it all nice and smooth again? That's exactly the concept in play in Apollo 13. That particular incident involving that oxygen tank occurred 2 years before Jim Lovell was named the commander of Apollo 13. And when he was asked, why didn't we look at this and anticipate this, he said, nobody figured that anybody would actually drop the tank. Now, as far as Starliner is concerned, I'm pretty sure that there's enough redundancy, safety equipment, et cetera, that the astronauts will be able to get home. But is it 100%? No. No, it isn't. And Boeing doesn't want to kill 2 astronauts because they've killed a lot of people with the 737 MAX. And they also have had other problems. I don't know. Pieces of the fuselage that are essentially bolted into place to provide in future airframes an escape door just falling off in flight. Yeah, that happened. And the crashes where the automatic flight control system decided to argue with the pilots, thinking that it could fly the plane better, and it couldn't, killed hundreds of people. And Boeing's had a real tough patch these days, maybe because the wrong guy is running the business. He appeared before a congressional hearing, and apologized to the people that were sitting there mourning the loss of their family members who died in 737 MAX aircraft. But is that good enough? No. Do engineers, absent the absolute adherence to business principles, do they spend more money than business guys? Yes. Yes, they do. Is that money well spent? Well, it depends. Is the money to do the engineer's way in building an aircraft, is that more than paying all the families of dead people because the aircraft don't work properly? That's a business decision. What decision do you suppose the Boeing CEO made? This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
Vallarta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. Greetings, John David Wells at your service. American car makers and international ones are dealing with the idea of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are, in a lot of ways, really interesting, especially coming from a racing motorhead, myself, who has looked at various forms of personal conveyance, cars, as a passionate hobby, if not an avocation. I'm not going to discuss how I earned money with my hot rods, but I assure you it was an avocation. So why am I bringing all this up? A couple of different reasons, but before I tell you anything more about this, what I would like to show you is these cars. On the left is a Ferrari SF90. I'm sorry, that's a Lambo SVJ. The car in the middle is the Ferrari SF90, and the car on the right, the little cockroach-looking S-Box, is a Tesla X. The two on the left are supercars. The Tesla, well, that's a sedan. But I want you to watch this very carefully as we go through it today.
Whoa.
Are you seeing the Tesla move?
That is fast.
Yeah. So the Ferrari gets past the Lambo, but the Tesla,
What was your launch, Yanni?
yeah, the Tesla wins. the Tesla. It's electric. Now, how long did they have to charge the Tesla after they did this drag race? I don't really know, but I'm sure it was more than what it takes to put gasoline in either the Ferrari or the Lambo. And the reason that I'm bringing this all up has to do with the following story from Fox Business. And it has to do with your experience with electric cars. A significant share of Americans who own an electric vehicle have buyer's remorse. This, according to new data. McKinsey & Company's Mobility Consumer Pulse for 2024, released this month, found 46% of electric vehicle owners in the U.S. say they were very likely to switch back to owning a gas-powered vehicle for their next purchase. The high percentage of Americans who want to make the switch surprised even the consulting firm. I didn't expect that. The head of McKinsey's Center for Future Mobility, Philip Kamshoff, telling Automotive News, I thought once an EV buyer, always an EV buyer. In the poll of nearly 37,000 consumers worldwide, Australia was the only country that had a greater percentage, 49% of EV owners, than the U.S., who say they're ready to return to owning an internal combustion engine-powered car. The other countries in the survey were Brazil, China, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Norway. Across all countries surveyed, the average share of respondents who want to ditch their EVs was almost 30%, almost a third. Biggest reason for wanting to own a gas-powered vehicle was the lack of available charging infrastructure. The second highest reason cited was the total cost of owning an EV. It's too high. That's according to 34%. Nearly 1 in 3, 32% said their driving patterns on long-distance trips were affected too much due to having an EV. Yeah, because almost every car in the United States goes somewhere between 350 miles and 500 miles on a tank of gas or on some kind of a fuel source. And having to sit for 8 hours or so to charge your electric car to go another 500 miles, well, that's just not good. McKinsey found that consumer satisfaction globally with charging availability has improved since last year's survey, but noted it still has a long way to go. The infrastructure where they live is well set up in terms of charge points. 40% said that there were not enough chargers along the highways. 38% were not enough chargers in close proximity to them. And by the way, why would you want to spend 8 hours in a Walmart if you didn't absolutely have to? So anyway, what does all this mean? Well, this means we rush the technology too fast. Why? Well, because I think the government of the United States, in the guise of climate protection, decided that we had to get rid of fossil fuels, that stinky burning oil. Not that stinky burning oil isn't what they use to power the actual machines that charge the electric vehicles. It's all just plain absurdity. But what I wanted to point out was this. Very likely at some point, probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years from now, electric vehicles are going to work. Why? Is it because we have all the charging stations that Secretary Pete Buttigieg says will be available to us? No. It has to do with the fact that sooner or later, somebody's going to realize that in order to have an electric vehicle that's successful, you've got to have superconductors that work at room temperature. And we don't have those yet because we rushed the technology onto the marketplace. And guess who paid for all of that? Did the car companies pay for all of that? No, except for Tesla. No, Elon Musk paid for all of his R&D, but he probably got some money from the government. In other words, without government subsidies, there wouldn't be electric cars. And that's important to know. But sooner or later, when there is a successful room temperature superconductor, all this stuff is going to go away. You'll be able to charge your car in 10 minutes. And you'll be able to drive them as long as you want to. Your butt will be too sore to drive before you run out of electricity. So, things aren't good for electric vehicles now. People want to go back to internal combustion, but soon that won't be the case, and I am looking forward to being able to outrun a Maserati. This is the Wells Report. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you tomorrow. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being with us. I sincerely appreciate it. And I thank you very much for your participation in this fine, high quality radio broadcast product. Let's see what else. Let's see. Great show. Work for a company who rather hire new engineers out of college than pay for experienced ones. Yeah, that's how you kill people. Let's see what else. Also, when you increase engine sizes, the plane built for the additional weight and stress. It is. But remember, you're talking about the airframe. And the airframe is not actually situated. The landing gear is too short. I didn't want to get into the weeds, but the landing gear is too short, and you really can't change the landing gear because they have to fold up inside the fuselage of the aircraft. Thus, you can't change that without building a new plane, and they should have kept building the 757. That was a huge mistake. I even thought so at the time. Let's see. Think how embarrassing it's going to be if Boeing has to bring a SpaceX Dragon capsule to the ISS to bring back their astronauts. Well, it's not going to be embarrassed. It's not going to be embarrassing for NASA. It will be embarrassing for Boeing. Just wondering why a Boeing capsule wasn't checked even more closely after all the airplane issues. Well, they check those things really seriously. Spacecraft undergo amazing technical scrutiny. They just missed it. They haven't figured out what's going on with it yet, but they will. They'll figure it out. The question is, will we have 2 less astronauts after they bring them home or not? So that's going through the chat. I want to thank you very much for being a part of this broadcast. If you find value in it, share it with your friends. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs ups. Those help us a lot. And also, by the way, like the notification button so you know we're going to be on the air. I know I said yesterday or last week, maybe a week before, that I was going to run the presidential debate. Well, I have to work tomorrow, and I'm going to be working during the debate. And so I'm not going to be able to run it. I have to talk to Dirk here in just a couple of minutes. So I'll ask him if he's willing to take over all this stuff and run the debate. So it's not over yet, but keep that in mind. What else? What else? Do you like my blue shirt? This thing looks great on television. Wow. It's not quite that blue, but it's close. Anyway, what else? I think that's about it. Is there anything for me? Go ahead and go to the chat room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Have yourself a great day. God bless you and yours. Be good.